Hey, entrepreneurs, are you constantly chasing more profits and success, yet feeling unfulfilled and overwhelmed by guilt? This relentless pursuit might be holding you back. Guilt, judgment, and the drive for more can drain your peace and happiness and your business success. In today's episode, I sit down with Matt O'Neill, the happiness expert and host of the Good Mood Revolution podcast, where Matt reveals how to break free of these patterns, prioritize peace, and why generosity is the key to long-term profitability. Plus, discover why clearing up your bad mood is crucial and even more than that for profit growth. On today's Profit with Plan podcast. Hey, entrepreneurs, are you trying to make bigger profits in your small business? If you're like most of us business owners, increasing your profitability is always on your mind, and you're probably looking for ways to grow your revenue while growing your company. Well, you found a podcast that shares ideas to help you do just that. I'm Marcia Reiner, known as the Profit Booster and a business growth strategist. I've helped tons of small business owners to establish and implement a tangible plan that guarantees increased profitability and guides your growth. And it plans for your future exit. Building a highly profitable and sale-ready business creates a win-win scenario. That's more money now and a windfall when it's time to let go. And I want to share strategies that I've learned with you on today's Profit with a Plan podcast. But before we get started, I have something really special to share with you. If you ever wanted to supercharge your business, avoid those profit plateaus, those operational headaches, and gosh, those growth roadblocks, well, I've created a brand new Profit Booster playbook just for you. You'll uncover 3 essential strategies and the quick way to take action on them. Now, this isn't just a single page report. It's filled with impactful strategies, actionable steps, and the expert guidance to help you elevate your profits. Go download this free playbook at boostingprofit.com. All right, I'm really excited to have my guest on today, Matt O'Neill. Matt is a happiness expert whose work has positively impacted the lives of over 100,000 people worldwide. He is the host of the Mood Revolution podcast and the author of the Good Mood Revolution book. Matt's teaching isn't just theory, it's tested in the real world too. Matt and his wife and 4 young children, and they run 2 successful businesses with over 8 million in revenue and 80 employees. Living by the happiness principle he teaches, his company has now been recognized as the #1 company to work for in South Carolina. What an awesome recognition, Matt. And thank you. Welcome for the podcast.
What's happening, Marcia? So happy to be here.
Thanks, me too. This is really exciting. I don't often bring happiness. I don't think I've ever brought a happiness expert onto the show. And so when I found you, I was like, ooh, this could be something really interesting that could help remove stresses, bring goodness into the life, and just make business more fun and easier to be around, right?
Well, happiness is very profitable. The #1 most expensive line item is employee turnover.
Oh gosh.
And I'd say even more expensive than employee turnover is employee disengagement or dissatisfaction. So it is very profitable to be super happy because the culture of the company follows the leader. And if the leader is really happy and really inspired and very enthusiastic about life and treating people with respect, guess what? Their employees treat people with respect, which is your customers, and your customers want to buy more and come back and refer more. So it's ridiculously profitable to be very, very happy and very, very kind.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I got to start off here. How did you get into the happiness space?
I was super unhappy.
Mm. That's a realistic answer there, but I mean, just because you were unhappy, how did you find happiness though? How did you do it?
Yeah, I was chasing happiness like we all do, especially entrepreneurs. This is super common. I'm in lots of mastermind groups, have been, I love learning, I love education, but I'm around all of these very, very wealthy millionaires and multimillionaires. And the thing is that we all are doing the same thing. We're trying to fill the void of not feeling adequate enough
Mhm.
with lots of accomplishment. So typically when we see a type A super high achiever, we're achieving because we think it's going to get us happiness. And that's
Mhm.
exactly what I was doing. It's what I see most people doing. Hopefully, uh, after we've achieved enough and chased that horizon and that moving goalpost that we think of, okay, if I just get to this point, I'll be happy. If I just get that, I'll be happy. If I just get this, I'll be happy. Hopefully, we wake up from it one day and say, you know what? I can be happy now in this exact moment and pursue really big goals.
Mm.
And that's what happened to me. I had achieved so many things. Every single checkbox I'd ever wanted to check off, I was all achieved. And yet I still found myself anxious, frustrated, annoyed, angry, upset, addictions, all the things, like all the things that all my buddies go through as well. And I said, okay, well, there's got to be a better way here. I think having all the success in the world and not being overly happy and joyful is a total failure. And I didn't want to fail anymore.
Wow. Not very many people get to recognize that. I mean, a lot of folks, business owners particularly, will just keep charging through. Oh, well, there's only happiness after I achieve this, right? I mean, that's a huge accomplishment to be able to sit back and recognize it first and then be able to do something about it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Okay, cool. Well, I'm so glad you've come up with this because this is really important. Like I said, so many business owners are just charging and, trying to do more, make that one more phone call, work one more hour, just if I get one more client or sell one more product. And it's always this like endless charge and drive to do more.
No, you're right.
Which
But here's the thing is that their life, like if you're listening to this episode right now, you're probably saying, my life is far better today with all my success than it ever has been. And I'm not going to argue with that. I think it's most likely 1,000% true that with all of your success and now having money and now having freedom and now being able to tell other people what to do instead of being told what to do, I'm sure your life is better than it ever was in your whole
but
existence. However, it's not as great as it could be. And
mm,
there's another level of joy and of peace and contentment. There's a guy I love to follow named David Hawkins who's since passed, but David did an analysis of the world through some muscle testing and found that 80% of the world is suffering in bad moods the majority of the time. So 8 out of 10 people, 8 out of 10 entrepreneurs are pretty suffering. We just don't realize it. Maybe we got glimpses of happiness, but for the most part, we're frustrated, annoyed, numb, or kind of blah, like maybe no feeling. And
mm,
only 20% of the population actually feels kind of good most of the time. But of that, only 5% of the population has a heart brimming full of love and joy all of the time. That's only 1 out of 20 people.
wow.
And I'm like, well, if 1 out of 20 people can have a heart full of love and be brimming with joy most of the time, I can be one of the 1 out of 20. I've always achieved everything I set my mind to. So let's go ahead and set my mind to this. And if you're listening to this, it's completely accessible to you as well.
Okay. Well, now you've enticed us to be that 1 out of 20 because most of us business owners are like you. We're going to chase a goal and chase a dream, right? Otherwise, we probably aren't entrepreneurs. So how does one get closer to that? Because it sounds like it's an ever moving target, right?
No, actually, it's not. It's available in this moment.
Really?
And what the only thing that keeps us from joy, like this moment is incredibly joyful. This present moment is a beautiful present moment, always in every situation, other than negative thought patterns. And there are 8 primary negative thought patterns, 8 bad moods. And all of these moods are just arguing with reality. And if we can clear out these 8 negative thought patterns, this moment turns into a joyful moment again. But joy is not something we experience in our mind. It's not something we experience because our mind's always thinking of the future. Like,
Mm,
oh, I've got to do this. I've got this to do. I've got this practice to go to. We're going to have this for dinner. You'll listen to your conversation with your spouse, and it's always like logistic planning about what we're going to do next, especially when you're really busy. Or it's ruminating about things that went wrong in the past, but your
mm,
mind is not in the present. So a lot of us entrepreneurs think all the time. We got really beautiful, big minds, but when we live in our mind, we're not happy. Happiness comes from the present.
Interesting. All right. What an eye-opening conversation this is because you're so right. We're either thinking about what we've got to do or what we've done, but rarely are we just being right now and enjoying the moment.
Well, think about the happiest times in your life.
Hmm.
And I want the person listening to this episode, take a moment, like, what were the most happy days of your whole lifetime? Marcia, what were a couple of yours?
I'd have to say there were great times of, monumental times, the birth of my children, that kind of stuff. But,
Well,
the achievement,
think about the birth of a child.
yeah.
In the birth of a child, you weren't worried about what happened 2 years ago. You weren't anticipating what you had to do for dinner or the next week. You were there in that very real, very present moment. The birth of a child is a very real moment of presence. And you
Hmm.
were so just happy being where you were, doing exactly what you were doing. And
I
if
don't
you
know how
think
happy
about,
I was. It was quite painful, but yes, but at the moment though, but the realization and the joy and the love that you immediately felt from this little body that is here with you now. But yeah, it's like it's crazy. You're hitting on so many points because us ladies, I mean, we have stories that just go and go and go in our head, whether this person, that person, now, yesterday, I got to do this. I got to, oh, look at this. There's so much going on in our head that I don't think we ever, as a, as a person, I don't think I ever really settle down and just think about happiness. It's crazy.
well, I love that you brought up a birth of a child and then you said it was painful.
It was,
And yet it was one of your happiest days. It's the very first thing you said was your happiest day was a very physically painful experience, was one of your happiest days.
I
And
know,
this is
crazy,
what's
right?
so cool is that, I talk about how happiness is a choice even during challenging times.
Hmm.
So we can be going through a very challenging situation or a very painful situation, and yet we can be totally joyful going through that situation. It is not the circumstances of our life that decide our happiness. Happiness is an internal choice to be so at one with today and with what's going on today and to be satisfied with today. Now, I make tons of plans. I set a million goals. We're super successful. I'm successful in all of my business ventures.
Love it.
And I'm constantly growing and constantly seeking to grow because one of my favorite lines is happiness equals progress.
Love
And
it.
I totally agree with this, that like if we think about progress in terms of like your marriage, well, if your marriage is progressing and you're growing closer in your connection with your spouse, you're happy with your marriage.
Mhm.
If your marriage is stagnant
Mm.
or declining and you're moving further away from connection with your spouse, you're unhappy with your marriage. So happiness is about progress. And so we do want to continue to set goals. Entrepreneurs are really good at that. I just challenge us to set goals for presence and gratitude and happiness and internal emotional growth, as well as profit growth.
Love it. Love it. Well, thinking about it though, what what drives us as entrepreneurs? We have to have this kind of energy and this 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 stuff that makes us move and go after things. And I think we're always depleting ourselves by running and working harder and trying harder and trying to get that last appointment in, or how many appointments can I get in a day, or can I service this client that much better. But how do we refill ourselves to and I use this term, the world is a vampire, right? I think there's a song by about
Oh
that.
yeah,
But
the Smashing Pumpkins.
right, but
Yeah, right.
it
That
is
man, that brings
because
me back to high school.
everybody, I know, right? Everybody is taking from us as people, as mothers, as business owners, and we have to refill the fountain to be
Right.
able to serve better and do more. And I think for
Hmm.
me, I'm connecting this, and I may be off on it, but I'm connecting this. If I'm happy with the moment, it fills me up and it
Right.
allows me to be more, do better, provide service more, make a
Oh,
better dinner for the family,
you're
whatever it is.
you're so right. Yeah, we have to keep our cup abundantly full. One of the things I think about is when your light goes out, you're out of service. And so if we allow our light to go out, we're no longer a great mom or dad. We're no longer a great spouse. We have no energy to give to our business. And so, yeah, we could go through the motions without our cup being full,
Mm.
and yet it's going to be so much less effective. It's like, I think it was Abraham Lincoln, or maybe it was George Washington. I can't remember who it was that said, if you give me 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'm going to spend 4 hours sharpening my saw.
That's right.
Well, if I have 8 hours to do my job today, I need to spend a few of them filling my cup,
Mm.
because man, I can get so much done when I'm on fire and
Yeah.
I'm creative and I'm enthusiastic. Like, you want to be around me when I'm my best self. Every entrepreneur listening here, you are dynamic, you are incredible. But if you burn yourself out, you're burned out,
Mm.
and you're less effective. And so part of ultimate success is self-care. Absolutely.
Hmm. Okay. So you started to tell us the 8 bad moods that will sabotage our good moods. Do
Mhm.
we just need to avoid those, or how do we, I mean, do we just go sit someplace quiet and think, oh, of a happy moment? And how do we keep ourselves happy?
So there are 8 primary bad moods, and we cannot avoid them. So I wish we could.
Darn, I was hoping we just like right turn, left turn
That's
around them.
exactly how our entrepreneur mind thinks, like, oh, I'll just get rid of those. They're actually just part of our human biology. So we can't get rid of these 8 bad moods. What we can do is recognize them,
Mm.
recognize when they're coming on, recognize the thought patterns that create these 8 emotional signatures, and then know. So it's a skill, just like any skill, just like understanding how to reduce expenses and drive revenue and increase profit. It's a skill. You learn that skill, you get good at that skill, you repeat it. Same thing with these emotions. Once we recognize the wound of rejection showing up in our life again, which is the lowest of the 8 bad moods, we can recognize it, the pattern. We can know that where we go in that mood, what happens to us in that mood, and then we can find out strategies to get out of the thoughts of rejection and get back into thoughts of abundance and happiness and joy in this moment. So I wrote a book called The Good Mood Revolution that you had recommended earlier on the show. That book outlines the 8 negative moods and a strategy for each one to get out of it, because you need a strategy to get out of it. But we can, nothing's behind a paywall with me. We can go into anything you want to discuss.
Uh,
I can identify the 8 wounds, and you can say, hey, these are the ones that I think would resonate most. For me, early in my entrepreneurial journey, the first wound I needed to heal was the wound of judgment, and specifically being hard on myself.
like
I
it.
thought being hard on myself was making me great. I
Mm.
used to pride myself. I would say, no one's harder on me than I am on me. And I thought that was like a badge of honor. Like you can't say anything to me that I haven't already said to myself. And that was pushing me to greatness. And I was having great success, right? So I was super successful in high school and in college and then after college. And I was always hard on myself. Well, it's a wound. It's a wound of judgment. I was hard on myself because my parents were hard on me.
Mm.
And then I became my own internal parent, and I was vicious to myself.
I bet.
Well, then it shows up by being hard on others.
Mm.
And people who worked for me could never perform to my standards. My standards were so lofty that everyone let me down. And I always let myself down. So a lot of entrepreneurs suffer from the same thing. You think it's making you better to be a perfectionist like this. It is totally holding you back. If you don't trust it yet, I didn't trust it. But in the beginning, you're like, well, if I don't push myself, I'll just be lazy. I'll go lay on the couch and watch Netflix all day. If I'm not hard on myself, I won't accomplish as much. But it's actually the opposite. Being hard on yourself is not pushing you forward. It's like wearing a giant chain and anchor. And as soon as you
Mm.
cut the chain, you run unencumbered by that total amount of judgment and guilt that you're carrying, and you go
Right.
you go 10 times as far. And that's what, once I healed that one wound, we grew 10x in the next 3 years.
Wow. See, so many of us, whether you're in sports or in business, you have that judgment that you just explained. I mean, I have to say that a significant portion of the audience listening is going, "Oh my gosh, yeah." But I think it's not, the judgment isn't pushing us. It's the goal that we're striving for that pushes us.
Totally.
And if we can just not beat ourselves up, but still go for the goal, we can 10x our business in 3 years, like you said.
Well, let me
Mm.
help the person listening understand why it's true, because there's a lot of skepticism that I had so much skepticism at letting
Well,
go of
it's
being
how we
hard on
were
myself.
raised, right?
Right.
Like you said, your parents were hard on you, your teachers were hard on you. You thought, like for years, I used to say, business is hard. I made it hard because I said that all the time.
Right. Or people say marriage is hard. I'm like, oh, don't say that.
Right? You're making it hard because you're making the statement that it has to be hard, but it really doesn't,
No,
you know?
business is fun. Business
It
is
can be.
exciting. Marriage
Yes.
is blissful. Like these are the
Love it.
language. This is the language I love, because whatever we say becomes a reality. So,
Exactly.
it's been proven. There's so many studies that positive reinforcement produces higher results than negative reinforcement. Now do need critical feedback. We need
Sure.
somebody that's going to give us feedback and say, hey, this didn't meet the expectations of what we're going after. But most entrepreneurs don't need more critical feedback. We need less,
Mm.
because we need more positive reinforcement. Who around you is patting you on the back? In my company, as the CEO of the company, I don't have many people coming up to me saying, oh, great job. I'm the one going around saying, great job. You did amazing. You're amazing. You're kicking butt.
Wow.
But how many people as entrepreneurs are looking at us and saying, you crushed it today?
Mm.
They typically don't. And so to heal this, I have a simple activity. I do it every morning. I have for over a decade. Every single morning, I write down 3 things I did well yesterday.
Aw.
Super simple. It takes me 5 minutes, but I will not go a day without writing 3 things down I did well the day before. My mind is always telling me everything I messed up. Oh,
Sure.
can't believe you
Oh, I
said
shouldn't have
that.
done this.
Oh, you
I
didn't get
shouldn't
that
have
thing
done that.
done. Yeah, you didn't make that phone call. Oh, you copped out there. Right. And I'm like beating myself up. Okay, I don't need to be beat up anymore. I have enough of it. It's never going to go away.
It's
Guilt is part
around
of
me all the
us.
time.
Right. So, but every single day I'm like, attaboy, Matt. Oh
Aw,
man, look, that was a killer workout you did this morning, Marcia. Like you got 20 minutes on the treadmill and then you lifted weights. Like, atta girl, you got
thank
after
you.
it. And so every day you start to make yourself feel great about all you're doing great. Guess what? When you feel amazing, what can you accomplish?
A lot more.
Anything. When
A
you
lot
feel on
more.
top of the world, unlimited, unlimited.
Mm.
So you want to start every day feeling like a winner, because when you feel like a winner, you feel like you can do anything, and you can. We're really unlimited.
Wow. This is so good, Matt. This is so good. This is exactly what I needed to hear. This is exactly what the audience needs to hear because they're just grinding through the day every day, wanting and wishing for more, but not changing their habits. They try harder rather than just forgiving themselves a little bit and giving themselves an atta girl, an atta boy,
I
and
just
so
took
they can do it.
So, Marcia, I know yesterday when we were preparing to have this great talk today, I told you about being coached by Ben Hardy. And Ben has a new book coming out. It'll be available this fall. I took a course with him. It's rapid transformation.
Mhm.
And it's super simple process, but he has you think of the 5 biggest wins you've had in the last 3 years. And so if you're listening, write down, just think about it. Just hit pause, write down the 5 biggest wins you've had in the last 3 years. Then think of the 5 biggest wins you've had in the last 12 months. And you'll come up with them. You'll be like, oh man, oh yeah, like I finished my book. Holy cow, my podcast became in the top 2% in the world. Like, wow, you know what? We ended up making $1 million. Like it's freaking and crazy, right? It's so awesome. You come up with these 5 huge wins. And then he says, okay, now given the success you've had in the last 12 months, what are the 3 impossible goals you could do in the next 12 months?
Mm,
So I took that process and I started to do it every week.
I love
And so I
it.
was already writing down the 3 greatest things I did every day. I looked at the week and I said, okay, what were the 5 greatest things this past week that I did? And I just looked at the three from, 3 times 7. I had 21 things. I said, out of those 21, what are the 5 greatest hits this week? And every week I'm like, man, I kicked some butt this week. And then I say, given where I'm at, what are the 3 impossible goals I could accomplish this coming week? Now, here's what's cool. It's only 3. I can get 3 things done in a week, and I could blow past my competition that's trying to do 20 things a day. I only need to do 3 things, and I will crush anyone who's trying to do 20 a day.
You are so right. And Tom is brilliant. I got to experience him about a year and a half ago, and that's why we were talking about it. It is really amazing what you can do when you set your mind to it. And if you do it in a way of happiness, like you're sharing with us, that you're like, what accomplishments, what wins did you do? See, you're able to perform the impossible or what you
Impossible.
believe is impossible. And then you're like, yeah, I did it, right? And it's just such an energetic shift that you now feel like you can do anything.
I never want to feel like any day is a grind.
Mm, love
And
it.
so feeling like a day is a grind or feeling burned out, that is a state of mind. It's not a
Chosen.
truth. It's a chosen state of, maybe it's subconscious, but it is a choice to feel burned out, or it's a choice to feel like today's a grind. Now, at first you may argue with that notion and saying, well, you don't know my life. Well, here's my life. I've got 4 kids under the age of 10.
Holy
I've
cow.
got a thriving marriage. I've got 3 different businesses. I've got a successful podcast. I'm publishing my first book, and I exercise every single day of the week. I'd say my life is pretty darn full, and
Mm-hmm.
yet it never feels like a grind. And if it ever does, I stop and I'm like, I refuse to feel like my life is a grind. And so I'm gonna take a moment to reflect on what am I doing that feels like a grind and how can I change this?
How can you improve it? Love it. There are people out there that say that time is a I can't even it's pretend. It's fixable. It's adjustable.
Totally.
You
Yep.
can do as many things as you want to do during the day, or you can make it all happen. Like you said, you've got so much going on. But if you say that time is unlimited or limitless, right? You can be and do all the things that you want to do because you're focused and directed, right? I think there's studies that say if you're multitasking, it's taking you twice as long or 3 times as long to get things done. And like your Abraham Lincoln story, that he's going to spend 4 hours sharpening rather than focusing on what you've got to do to achieve the goals that you have. So I think if we're doing the right stuff in the right mindset and the right focus, then there really shouldn't be burnout and stress and grind and if you don't like that client, get rid of them.
Get rid of
Right?
or that employee, right?
Or the
Who's the
spouse or whatever, the
right.
friend, you
Yeah.
know,
So
the
so
commute. If you don't like going that way, go the other way.
now we do get trapped, and again, these traps are self-imposed. We get trapped thinking, well, I have to do this job I hate to
Mm,
pay my bills.
mm,
That's a total lie and a fabrication. And
mm-hmm.
I've been trapped. I was, now my company is a real estate brokerage, and I don't sell homes. I don't go sit down with clients, but there was a time when I did, and I sat down with clients at their kitchen tables, and I signed clients while my wife ate dinner alone with our children. And it was a grind. I was like waking up in the morning, doing my whole routine, exercising, coming in, doing the marketing, doing the leading, hiring and firing, managing
Mm.
everybody, and then going out and signing these clients until 9 or 10 at night, right? Like, and then get home, fall asleep, wake up, do it all over again. And I felt trapped because I had designed a company that only made me the money I wanted to make if I performed as a salesperson within my company.
Mm.
And I was really afraid that if I didn't sell homes myself, we wouldn't make enough. And the way I'd set it up, it was true. If you took all of my sales out, we would lose like 200 grand a year. That's how it was. And one day I was at a Tony Robbins conference and Tony was like, "What's the one thing you know you need to do when you get home?" And I was like, "Stop selling homes."
Fire
And
myself.
yeah, fire myself and elevate myself into true CEO status. And
Mm.
again, it goes back to this thought of, well, that's kind of impossible because if I don't sell homes, we lose money and I can't lose money or my family will die. But I'm like, that would be impossible unless I doubled the size of my company. And that was my answer. I said, okay, well, I'm never going to sell another home. This is 2017. So 7 years ago. I said, I will never sell another home, but I am committed to doubling my company, doubling the size of my agent count in the next 3 months. And I came back and I didn't go on another appointment and haven't since. And I hired, we had 16 agents at the time. I grew it to 32 within 3 months. Of course, there's a bunch of turbulence, there's a bunch of problems. People didn't like it, blah, 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 blah. We ended up making more money within the next 2 years than we had ever made. And my life was amazing. I got to have dinner with my family every night. I got to have my weekends at home. I got to just empower and help other people become great leaders and have great lives. And I didn't have to do it all. So sometimes we do have to get out of a trap we put ourselves in by asking ourselves, what is possible for my dream life?
I love it. I love it. And you know what? Knowing that anything is possible, you just may not know how to do it. You have people like you and I that are out in the world that can see the forest through the trees and be able to say, "Hey, have you thought about doing this so that you can have that?" And I think that's what people forget is that they put themselves in that grind and in that trap and they're selling homes and missing their putting their kids to bed and having dinner with them. But what's the way out? Right? There's many ways out and you
Hire
have people.
Marcia.
Yes, hire me, hire you. There's
I
hire
I
whatever there's
hired I hired a coach at
exactly.
that moment I made the decision at that conference. I hired a coach that day and I said, I am committed to this result and I need you to hold me accountable to it. And I need your higher understanding and your higher mindset in order to hold me to doing it because I was really afraid, like
Well, of course.
a ton of fear. And so I am a huge, huge, huge proponent of hiring coaches, especially someone like you, Marcia, who totally get it and who understand how to help people have the life they truly want and to get out of their own way.
Well, you know what? There is so much information and so many experts out there that come up with ideas that if you're not learning outside of what you normally do, if you're a whatever, you're a plumber, you know how to fix toilets and pipes, right? Have you thought of how to make your business better, how to treat your employees better, how to market, how to have a happier life? So when you come home to your family, you're happy and bringing them joy. I mean, these kind of things are learned skills that why people listen to podcasts is to learn new ideas and skill sets. And so that's why I'm so happy that we were able to bring you on, share your amazing wisdom with the audience and really just wow, enlighten me. You have gotten me. I was a little flustered this morning, trying to get my words together, but just talking to you just made me feel better and happier and to
Aw.
understand to live in the moment. So this has been amazing, Matt. Truly
Same,
amazing.
same. It's energizing for me to talk with somebody doing so much good in the world like you.
Love it, love it. All right, Matt, where can listeners find out more about you and how they can be more happier every day in their life?
The best thing is to tune into the Good Mood Revolution podcast, where I just talk about this exact thing about happiness every week. The Good Mood Revolution book on Amazon is also a really good manual for how to get out of those 8 negative mindsets. So those are 2 really good places to plug in.
Love it. Love it. And we do, like you said, we can't get rid of the eight. We have to learn how to navigate them and recognize them and learn how to get out of them quickly.
Now I
So,
do have a free assessment, and
yeah.
it's your bad mood saboteur. So of the 8, there's usually one that holds us back the most.
Mm.
And if you go to matto'neill.com, there's an assessment. It's what's your bad mood saboteur. There's also what's your good mood superpower, because there's 8 positive moods that can lift us up. So if you want to kind of find out more about yourself, about what's the one thing holding you back and what's the one thing that could really push you forward, I recommend you take that free assessment.
Oh, that's amazing. Yes, absolutely. Take that assessment because, we all love to live in our superpower, right? But we try to normally just avoid or shove under the rug all the negative stuff. So
Me
if we
too.
can, yeah, I'm singing my own song here.
Right.
So if we can learn how to deal with these, we'll be so much better in life. So this has been amazing. Matt, I just truly appreciate you. All right, listeners, I hope you found a couple ideas that you could put into your business to help you be more profitable. And I know if you feel joy and you have a smile on your face every day, you're going to be more attractive to your employees, to your ideal customers, to your, whatever's going on in your day that you're trying to make easier. If you go about it happier, it's going to make everything easier and more attractive for that. Money likes happiness, right? All right. Speaking of money, as I mentioned, if you want to supercharge your business, don't forget, go download my new Profit Booster Playbook, packed with 3 essential strategies and the actionable steps that you can use to make this your most profitable year ever. I think I'm going to go steal something out of yours, Matt, and say you got to be happy while you're doing it.
Yes.
Exactly. Go grab it for free at boostingprofit.com. And so Matt and I would love to hear back from you. Go take his quiz, find out what your superpower is, find out what the anchor in your negative in your unhappiness moods are, and put it in the chat. Tell us what yours is. I bet, since we're mostly entrepreneurs listening, that you're going to start to see a trend of what our superpowers tend to be and what our negative powers tend to be. And you know what? Maybe we can lift us each up together. So go put those in the comments. And while you're at it, subscribe. You don't want to miss next week's show. And you can always catch Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. We're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thanks so much, Matt.